Hello, in this tutorial we are going to explain how to implement task assignment system using .NET Core Web API and Angular. As we can see here, we have list of APIs. The first API is to get the list of employees. We have these APIs for the tasks. This API will return the list of the tasks which supports pagination, sorting and filtering. So now we can see it returns list of 10 items sorted by name. Second API is to create a task. Let's try to create task. And we have description, and we don't want to assign any employee. And now execute. Here we can see the task has been created with this ID. Now here we can get this task which we have created based on the ID, and now we can see these details. Now if you want to assign this task to one of the employees, we can type here the task ID and the employee ID. If we can go back here, we can see we have these employees. Now we can assign it to the employee with ID 3, and now we can see that success, it's assigned. Now if we can go to the front end, now we see at least 10 of the tasks. Now here we can see we can paginate through these. We can filter. Let's first create one task. And we can assign employee or we cannot assign. Let's not assign an employee. Now we have created this. Let's filter by front end. Now we can see this task. Now we can assign to an employee. Save. Now here we can see that it's assigned. And lastly is the sorting. We can sort by name, description, assignee, and now by default it's sorted by the name. Now we can sort by description, or we can sort by assignee. And yes, and this is our system. Now next we are going to explain the structure of the .NET Core Web API project and structure of the Angular project. Start explaining .NET Core Web API project structure. First, we'll start with the structure of the files. First, we will create the entities folder. which contains both employee entity and task entity. Then we'll create the DB context folder, which contains the DB context. Later we will create the services, which include employee services and task service. Then we will build the models. Models contain 3 folders: tasks models, employee models, and shared models. Tasks models, we will have task model and create task model. Task model is to return data. Create task model is used to send HTTP post to create the task. In employee models, we will have only employee model, which represent the data that returns in HTTP response. We will have also the shared models. Shared models, we will have in this case paged result, which contains items and total count. Items, which is the list of the returned list, and total count is the total count of the list. Then we will create the controllers. Of course, we will have employee controllers and tasks controller. Now let's talk about the relation between these structures. First, let's start with the database. We have a SQL Server database. Then we will create the DB context, which depends on entity framework to make connections to database. Then we will create the entities which be included inside DB context. It means the database context depends on the entities. Then we will create the services. Services depends on both entities and DB context. Then we have to create the models. These models is a representation of data in application layer. After creating the models, we have to create the controllers, and as we can see, the controllers depends on both models and services. Later we will use HTTP requests to call the request through the controller, and as we can see here, we have this